Hello everyone! Today we are at the incredibly awesome, picturesque Devil's Bridge in Sedona, Arizona. According to the Forest Service, this is the largest natural sandstone arch in the area, and it's a very easy hike. In fact, it's so popular that there's a line to go out on the bridge portion for a selfie. Most people start here at the parking lot, right near the Dry Creek Road trailhead. That is, if you have a regular passenger car. If you have a high clearance 4x4, then you can park closer to the Devil's Bridge trailhead. But the road is rough, as you will see, so make sure your vehicle is high clearance, preferably a rented vehicle, right? Here's a satellite view of the parking area. If you're lucky or you come early enough, you can park here and then walk 2.1 miles to the Devil's Bridge trailhead. That's the purple highlighted route you see here. And then another mile to the bridge itself. We did this hike with two of our adult kids. Is that an oxymoron? The kiddos hiked using the Chuckwagon trail while hubby and I took the more scenic Mescal trailhead. The Chuckwagon Trail is an easy road with lots of 4x4s and pink Jeep tours passing by. The Mescal Trailhead is supposedly shorter and much more scenic, but it's rougher to traverse, so it took us longer to get to the Devil's Bridge Trailhead. Why did we split up from the kiddos, you ask? Well, of course, when we got to the Dry Creek Road parking area, there was no parking. So we made a family decision to let the boys off to start the hike while we old folk looked for parking. They checked out the map and then went off on their merry way while we tried to figure out where to park the car. We finally found parking back on the main road. This section is called Boynton Pass Road. You can see it here on the map. It's quite a distance. I'd say about a mile from where we let the kiddos off. Thank goodness for cell phones. We were able to reach them off and on to see where they were. The cell phone signal was very spotty, but we were able to reach them at some points on the hike. We didn't catch up to them until Devil's Bridge. They were already up and waiting in line for a photo op on the bridge. On the road where we parked, we came across a trail marker for the Chuckwagon Trail, so we decided to follow it rather than the walk up the road back to Dry Creek Road. This was a narrow trail with a lot of brush and cactus plants, and it was windy and twisty. No one was on the trail with us, so I started to worry that this wasn't the correct way to go, but we were enjoying the trail, so on we went. This was much more scenic than the path that we drove on, and we were on vacation, so who cares? From this sign, it looks like behind us is the Gardner Trail. According to All Trails, that is a moderately challenging 9.9 out and back hike. And the sign is pointing us forward to the Chuckwagon Trail. So onward we went. The scenery is just beautiful. And then we came across a parking lot. And I'm pretty sure this is the parking lot where we left our kids off, maybe about a half hour ago. This looks like the same map that they were checking out. Here is some of the footage they took on their hike to Devil's Bridge. They took a very wide road. Please excuse the shaky video on this. My son is wearing a GoPro around his neck, so there's a lot of side-to-side motion here. He was also using the All Trails app to navigate, and they got to the Devil's Bridge trailhead pretty quickly. As they walked there were lots of other people walking that way as well. Of course, hubby and I took the less traveled route. We usually do. And this is definitely the scenic route. Looking around, we saw no one else on this trail, while I found out later that the trail our kids took was different. Even on a cloudy day, the view is spectacular, but you can see this trail is a lot rockier than the Chuckwagon Trail, and still we saw no one else around. From this overlook, we guessed that our car was somewhere on the road down there, and we continued on our very scenic route. Meanwhile, our kids are getting closer to Devil's Bridge. You can tell from the shaky footage this is the kids' hike with the GoPro shooting from the neck mount. My video is much more steady. Back to our scenic route, I feel like we are in the middle of nowhere, and still we have not met a soul on this hike, so this is definitely not the popular Chuckwagon Trail. Yes, a sign! Let's see what it says. So now I'm really confused. It looks like we are on the Chuckwagon Trail, but there is also a sign pointing to Devil's Bridge via the road. We followed the sign pointing to the road, and then we came to an area with people. And out onto a wider trail. It turns out this is Dry Creek Road, and this was the path our kids had taken. At this point, we were a good hour behind them, but they kept trekking onward towards the final goal, Devil's Bridge. We continued on this wider trail. There were lots more people on this trail and vehicles, but this was not as scenic as our previous route. So even though it looks like we had taken a detour, the scenery was well worth it. And now we finally reached the Devil's Bridge trailhead, and you can see here a small dirt parking lot for anyone who was able to drive here. From this point, it's about a mile to Devil's Bridge, but this is not an easy mile. It's quite rocky and elevated, but slow and steady wins the race. I'm not sure why, but now all of a sudden there are a lot more people here. It's uphill here and quite rocky. And now it's getting much rockier, and wow, what a spectacular view. This looks like we got to the top, but no, there is still more scrambling ahead, and there in the background you can see people lined up waiting for their selfies. And here we are at the top, along with the rest of the crowd, waiting for that one selfie on Devil's Bridge. My Fitbit credited me with 8 miles for the day's hike. Of course, we walked an extra 2 miles because of where we parked the car. I can tell you this hike was worth every step of the way. Later in the day, we rested our feet and took a pink Jeep tour, but that's for the next video. I hope you enjoyed trekking along with us on this breathtakingly spectacular hike to Devil's Bridge. Thank you for watching. Bye.